Ever opened CorelDRAW and thought, where do I even start? Too many buttons, too many tools. It looks confusing, right? Well, not anymore. Hello, fellow creatives, and welcome to Redeemers Graphics. If you are new to CorelDRAW, this video is for you. I'll break everything down in the simplest way possible, from understanding the interface to using the most important tools. No confusing terms, no overwhelming steps, just a fun and easy way to get started. By the end of this video, you'll know your way around CorelDRAW and be ready to create something amazing. So let's dive in and make graphic design easy. Anytime you launch CorelDRAW designing software, this is the very first interface that appears for you. We refer to this as the welcome screen. Now this section provides you access to the recent designs you have worked on. If you want to create a new document, there are many options to choose from. Just like any other software, we can use the shortcut Ctrl N to create a new document, or simply click on the plus icon right here. Another option to use is by clicking on the plus icon just to the very right of welcome screen. And also there is another option which you can choose from. That is, you go to File, click on New, and a pop-up appears for you to specify the details per the design you want to work on. Now this section of the interface, we refer to it as the menu bar. We are going to look at them one at a time, but first let's create a document so we can have the other parts and tools of CorelDRAW designing software to help us understand better. So we are going to use this option, click on File, choose New, and this is the pop-up that appears for us anytime we try creating a document. This pop-up is to provide details per the document or design work we want to work on. We have the General tab, Dimensions tab, and the Color Settings tab. These are the three tabs that are provided per the pop-up menu. We are going to understand every item under each into detail. The very first one under General, which is Name, is where you specify the name of the document or design you want to work on. Once you click on this, you can delete the untitled, which has been provided by default, and give your design a name or document a name. So we can simply name this CorelDRAW for beginners. Now with the preset, you always leave it at custom. Alright, you always leave the preset at custom. The next item we have is the number of pages. Now with number of pages, it is determined per the kind of design you are working on or document you are working on. For instance, if you are working on a book design has a lot of pages, and so this is where you specify the number of pages per the book design you are working on. If it's a one document design work, you simply leave the number of pages at 1. Now we come to the primary color mode. With the color mode, If you are working on a document that is to be used on digital platforms only, for instance, social media, all right, like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you can choose what? RGB color mode. Now, this is necessary because our digital devices are built with RGB color code to read and interpret colors that are worked on in RGB mode. If the design is to be printed, then we choose CMYK as our primary color mode. So with this, we are going to leave it at RGB. Now when you come to dimensions, every design has a size. Every document has a size. You can click on the drop down arrow here to choose from a lot of page sizes to work with. We have A4 size, A3, we have A5, A6, we even have business card, letter, tabloid, and a whole lot of page sizes to choose from. If the design or project or document you want to work on has its own specific dimension, that can be specified with these two options right here, which is the width and height. Now you must also know the dimension of the document you want to work on. The dimension type, either millimeters, in feet, in centimeters, in inches, or pixels. To change the type of dimension, you can click on the drop down arrow right here. Among these various options, you simply choose the dimension type your design is to be worked in. Normally with banner design works and very huge size artworks, we use feet dimension type to work on them. Now we have the orientation. This basically deals with either a portrait or landscape orientation. When we come to resolution, you always leave it at 300. This deals with the quality of your design work. The quality of your design works. The pixels concentration of your design. When you reduce this, the quality of your design will also reduce. The pixels concentration will also reduce. So always leave it at 300. With the color settings as well, you simply leave them as they are by default. When done with that, you go ahead and click on OK. So this is how to create a new document. If it's for a flyer design, a logo design, a brochure, a business card, any kind of design. These are the steps you can follow to create a new document for your design work. Now, once you've created the new document, this interface appears for you. We have here what we refer to as the drawing window, the gray area which we refer to as the drawing window, then the white area we refer to it as the drawing page. The entirety of all this is referred to as the workspace. Now we are going to take it from the top here, come to the very left, our right, and the down part of our CorelDRAW designing software interface. The top here where we have file, edit, view, layout, object, app to help is what we refer to as the menu bar. The very down here is what we refer to as the property bar. The property bar of our workspace or CorelDRAW interface. Now with file, it provides you the option of creating a new file, of selecting a new document or opening a new document. And also, if you have recent works worked on, the Open Recent provides you access to open them without having to access them from your storage. If you want to close a document, we have the close option here as well. Save as, if you want to save a document in any format, you can use this save as to do that. If you want to import, that is bring an object into your workspace, you can use the option here which says import. If you want to export an object, right beneath it we have export, but because we don't have any item on our workspace, you could see that it is a bit faded. Okay, so this provides you with the ability to work around your object or your document. The very next tab we have is the edit tab. The edit tab provides you with the flexibility to undo a process or redo a process, to copy and paste, to cut and paste, to select objects in a document, either text, objects, guidelines, or notes, to find and replace objects in your document. The very next tab we have provides you with the access to change the view of your workspace. So we have the wireframe, we have normal, enhanced, we have pixels as well. It is always advisable to leave your view on enhanced. Alright, now if you want to work with rulers and guidelines, if you look at this very bar right here, you can see calibrations, numbers being calibrated. That is the ruler used in CorelDRAW. If you want off that, turn it off, you can go to view and close it. If you want to have it on, you can click on it and it's back at its rightful place. Then we have the layout. With layout, we are looking at the arrangement of your page per your document. Remember, per the creation of a new document, we spoke about number of pages. Alright, so this provides you with the access to work around the layout of your page. If you want to duplicate a page, we have this option right here. If you want to rename a page, we have the option right here to rename a page per your document. Now we may not be able to speak on all, but we are going to be looking at the most important items you need that every designer that uses CorelDRAW works with. So we have effects. If you want to apply different effects to any object in your document, we have this option right here to help you do that. A blurry effect, you want to adjust the color, image adjustment lab, you want color transform, you want to add a contour, noise, distort, add a 3D effect to any object. This is the option to choose from. Then we have bitmap as well. We will be looking at what we mean by bitmap, vector files in CorelDRAW. CorelDRAW actually supports three file types. Alright. Then we have text. This provides you with the ability to work around any text elements in your design. Then we have table. If you want to create a table, once I click on create new table, I can specify the number of rows and number of columns. With these default numbers of 3 rows and 4 columns, I can click on OK, and a table is created for me right here. I'm going to have to delete that. Then we have tools. Tools provide you with the accessibility to customize your CorelDRAW designing software. Now, per the interface, I am currently working with a dark theme. If you want to change it to light or black or any other theme, you can use the tools tab on the menu bar, click on options and choose customization. Alright. Once you click on that, you have the option to change the theme of your interface. You can see we have light. Alright. Go and change this to dark so we can work with smoothly. Great. Then we have windows. Alright. Now with windows, if you want to create a new window per your document, we have this option. If you want to close a window, you have this option as well. Then we have what we refer to as dockers. With dockers, this provides you with what? The ability to work around the various objects you have per your document. Currently, we have 2 dockers, 3 dockers actually. These items we have here, where we have properties, objects, and contour, are what we refer to as dockers. All these here are referred to as dockers in CorelDRAW. Now with help, if you are new to CorelDRAW and would like to get tips on how the tools work, you can come to help and choose hint to add to the dockers. If I select any tool, you can see it provides me with a description and how to use the tool. This is the work of the hints dockers, which can be found in the help tab on the menu bar. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this. Then you can see it's gone from the dockers list. Great. Now right here we have what? We have the tools, we have the property bar. Alright. Anytime you select a tool, it comes with its own property bar. Now let's understand the other interface of the software and move on to how the tools work in CorelDRAW. At our very right, we have the dockers. Then To the very right of the dockers, we have the color palette. These are the colors with which we are going to work on in CorelDRAW. Every color you need to choose from and work with in CorelDRAW can be found here. Now to customize this, we can click on this arrow and come to customization. Alright, come to customization where we specify the maximum palette rows when docked. Can increase this to 4 and click on OK. Now we have about 4 rows of colors to work with. Right here we have the tools box. The tools box. These are the tools with which you are going to work with in CorelDRAW. Everything you need to do, every tool that you need to use, this is where they can be found at. Then at the very down here we have the document navigator. Right now we have just one page per our document. If you want to increase the number of pages, you can click on the plus icon right here and a new page is added. If you want to rename any page, you can right click on it and choose rename page. Alright, and that provides you with the ability to rename a page. Great. Then down here we have the status bar right here. Drag colors or objects here to store these colors with your document. This is what we refer to as the status bar. The status bar is where all the colors you will be using or you would have used in your document will be stored at. Then we have the navigation panel, the scroll buttons to allow you to navigate through your document. Now let's look at how the tools work in CorelDRAW. What each and every tool in CorelDRAW works. This will help us appreciate this powerful designing software even the more. To get started, this once again is the toolbox. I'm going to have to import in some resources into our workspace so we can better appreciate how these tools work. To import in CorelDRAW is to simply bring an object or an item into the workspace of your software. Now there are 3 options in importing items into your workspace. You can either click on this icon right here or click on File and choose Import. And the third option is to use the shortcut Ctrl+I to import an item into your workspace. Once I hover over this icon, you could see that it provides us with a brief description of what the icon does. So import, to import a file into the active document, also with the shortcut Ctrl+I. So right as I click on this takes us to our storage. I'm going to have to import in these 2 items, so you select the items and click on import right at the very down here. Now drag to fit per the size you want it to fit on your document. Great. Now in CorelDRAW, 3 types of items or files are accepted to be worked with. These type of files are referred to as vector files, and these type of files are referred to as bitmaps. Now CorelDRAW is a vector-based software. What this means is that it works on a specific geometry such that items that are exported, files that are exported, documents that are exported, when zoomed in, no matter what, the quality doesn't lose. What I mean by that, this being a vector file, when exported, after being extracted from the background, the quality remains the same no matter the extent to which you zoom in on them. The sharpness remains the same. Great. Then the third type of file accepted is what we refer to as the text files. So we can have this. CorelDRAW for beginners. Great. So these are the 3 types of files that are accepted to be worked with CorelDRAW software. Now, the very first tool we have on the toolbox is referred to as the pick tool. What the pick tool does is that it allows you to select, position or transform objects. To select, position and transform objects. If I want to move this object from this position to this position, I need to use the pick tool. Once I select the object, I double click and drag and drop at the position I want to have it at. That is the function of the pick tool. If I want to scale this this file to increase the size much bigger, once I hover over this node, you could see that there is a diagonal 2 arrows being shown on my mouse cursor. This means that I can either scale the file to the very upward left or to the very downward right. So we have this increased in size. If I want to scale this downwards, you could see the direction it's going. Now, one advice I would like to give anytime you are scaling objects, especially with bitmaps, is to always use the last nodes at the ending points of the bitmap. This is because anytime you use any of these nodes or coordinates, it distorts the appearance of the bitmap. When I scale this to the very left, you could see a change in the appearance, the originality of the bitmap. Alright, but when I scale with this knot, the originality and scale of it remains the same, the appearance. Alright, so that is why it's advisable to always scale objects with the very last knots of the object or bitmap. Now, when you look at some of the tools, they have drop down arrows. These drop down arrows simply means that there are other tools embedded in them which perform similar functions. There are other tools embedded in them which perform similar functions. With the pick tool, you can click on the drop down arrow and we have the freehand tool. The freehand tool or free transform tool. All these tools perform similar functions just like the pick tool, but with just a bit of difference. Alright, great. Now if I want to select more than one object in my document, I can click and drag, and once any of the objects fall within the frame which I have created will be selected. That is also another function of the pick tool for selecting multiple objects or one object. The very next tool we are going to speak on is called the shape tool. The shape tool allows you to curve objects and add various knots and dimensions to your object, just like the name shape. So every object has what we refer to as a knot, either a bitmap, a vector file, or text-based object. These knots are based on the interjection of lines that come together to create these knots. Once there is a meeting point of two or more lines, this meeting point becomes what we refer to as knots. That is what the shape tool is able to manipulate to change the appearance and structure of any object in CorelDRAW. Let's look at how the shape tool works. I will have to use a different tool to better explain this. So with my rectangle tool, I'm going to create this shape. Alright, a color of black. Great. When I click on the shape tool, you could see that the knots or coordinates of this shape has changed. If I click on this, double click and drag in, we have a totally different shape. Now, to further manipulate the knots of this shape, I can right click on the shape and choose convert to curves. Once I convert this shape to curves, that is the straight lines of this shape to curves, I can be able to what? Apply this shape effect to my object. Now you notice that the lines of this shape are all straight lines. If I want to apply a curve effect to any of this shape, I can click on any of the lines and right on the property bar, choose convert to curve. Once I click on that, I am provided with these two directional knots to change the appearance of this shape. That is how powerful the shape tool is. From a rectangle to a totally different shape. Great. Now, right down here on the drop down arrow, we have different shapes as well, like the smooth, the smear, twirl, attract and repel, smudge and roughen. All this as well provide you with the option to change the appearance of your object. The most important tool I use, or most designers use, is the shape tool. Alright, the shape tool. You can play around with them as a way of understanding and appreciating them better, how each of them work. Great. Now let's go back to the pick tool so I can explain something better. When you select an object once, the appearance of the knots is shown as block boxes. When you click on it a second time, now you have directional or rotational coordinates or knots. This allows you to rotate or tilt an object. You could see how I've been able to rotate this object. That is also another property of the shape tool. Now these directional knots allow you to tilt an object. This allows you to tilt an object. Great. The very next tool we'll speak on is the eraser tool. This tool allows you to remove unwanted areas in a drawing. When you click on that, we have other tools which are embedded in it. For instance, the crop tool. How do you use the crop tool? Can double click and drag, and the selected area within the frame is cropped out of the entire object. You can either double click to select it out, or after selecting the area you want to crop out, you go right here and click on crop. This is how the crop tool as well works. You can explain further, possibly using this image, our crop tool selected, we probably don't want this area of our object. You simply double click to delete it out. This is the function of the crop tool. The next tool is the zoom tool, simply for zooming in and zooming out. Now if you notice, any tool we select, it provides us with what? Additional functions which we could perform on an object. Alright, this is the property bar of every tool selected. The zoom tool, with this you can use your mouse, your scroll button to zoom in and zoom out. I normally don't use it when I want to zoom in or zoom out, unless I want to get access to all the documents, all the files I'm working with on the interface by double clicking to zoom in on all the items in my document. Great. The very next tool we'll speak on is the freehand and pen tool. The freehand and pen tool are both powerful tools used in CorelDRAW by most designers. Let's start off with the pen tool. So you click on the drop down arrow and we have the pen tool right here. This allows us to draw objects just as seen. Now these tools work hand in hand. After creating an object with one, you can use a different tool to apply effects, to apply changes to your object. That is the power of these tools. So we have this object created using our pen tool. You click once, and join the nodes of the object. Great. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Then the next tool we have is the freehand tool. This is more like using a pen or pencil to draw in a notebook. With the freehand tool, I can draw any shape I want and simply use my shape tool to adjust the nodes of the shape. It doesn't draw straight lines as per the pen tool. If I click and drag, this doesn't create a straight line compared to my pen tool. This is basically you drawing an object using a pen and pencil in a notebook. The freehand and pen tool are used to trace objects. The freehand and pen tool are used to trace out objects. As we move further in this tutorial, you will understand how to very well use the freehand tool to trace out parts of an object. Now, right beneath it, we have what we refer to as the artistic media tool. This tool allows you to draw objects of this shape. So all you need to do is double click and drag along the path of the object you want to create. You can choose from the option on the property bar right here to change the appearance of the artistic media you have created. Normally, this is used to add highlights to objects in your design work. That is with the artistic media tool. Double click and drag along a specific path, and this effect is applied to the path you have created. Great. Now, one of the most powerful tools used in CorelDRAW designing software and any other type of designing software is the rectangle tool. The reason why I say this is because per my years of experience, the rectangle tool is what I mostly use in creating my background, creating different shapes in my design works. Now, with your rectangle tool selected, you simply double click and drag to create any shape of rectangle you want to create, any size of rectangle you want to create. You can adjust the width by dragging this knot. Alright, you can increase the size by dragging this knot or coordinate. Now, if you want to play around further, that is when the shape tool comes in. You probably want to add a curve effect to your rectangle. You use the shape tool to do that. As explained earlier, you convert to curves. Click on any line and convert to curve. Double click and drag and create just any curve to your object. Now you could see the shape we have just created using our rectangle tool and shape tool. Now with the shape tool, something I forgot to speak on. It also allows you to add or delete knots on an object. So I can double click on a curve on line to add a knot. And this is what we have. Or double click on a knot to delete it. You can click and on the property bar, this very option which says add knots, you click on that and a knot will be added to your object. That is another function of the shape tool. Now back to our rectangle tool, we have two tools that are actually embedded in that. So we have the rectangle tool and the 3-point rectangle. Once I click on this, all I need to do is to click once and have this shape created. Click once and have your shape created. But out of these two, it is the rectangle tool that we as designers use often. Alright. Now the very next tool we are going to speak on is the ellipse tool. Before we speak on that, if so far you have learned something and you think this video has been helpful so far, please subscribe to the channel and like this video so it can be pushed further to others to also benefit from. And also let us know in the comment section what you think about this video. The next tool we want to speak on is the ellipse tool. The ellipse tool helps us in drawing circles. Alright. So we are going to click on the ellipse tool right here. And if you want to draw a perfect circle, you always hold Ctrl, double click as you drag. Now the dimension of any object is always shown on the property bar. So once you've created your circle, because you held Ctrl, you are going to have the width and height being the same. So this can be noticed on the property bar right here. If you don't hold Ctrl before dragging, it is impossible to have a perfect circle created. It is impossible to have a perfect circle created. Alright, so you always need to hold down Ctrl, double click and drag to have your circle created for you. Great. The next tool we are going to speak on is called the polygon tool. Just like the other tools, it also has some tools embedded in it. So we are going to speak on the polygon tool and the star tool as well. Alright? The polygon and star tools. And then we are also going to look at common shapes. By default, CorelDRAW Designing provides you access to some shapes that you can work with without having to create them yourself. Isn't that cool? Very cool, right? Great. So the very first tool is the polygon shape, just as the name sounds. In drawing polygons. Alright. So this is your polygon created for you right here. Now if you want to increase the sides, you come to the property bar and click on the arrow pointing up or down to increase or decrease the sides respectfully. So when I click on this, you could see a change in the sides of my polygon. When I click and drag down, you could see a change in the sides of my polygon. That is the use of the polygon tool. Okay, good. The next tool we have is the star tool. So you click on the drop down arrow and click on star. Now because we already given this size, all we need to do is to drag in this knot to create a star. Alright, remember we stated every object is made of knots, points. So to manipulate these knots, you work around using the shape tool by dragging in or out, convert to curve to manipulate the knots of any object. Great. Now we have common shapes. Once you click on that, we have numerous shapes to choose from to work with in your workspace. So if you want to have a love shape, you simply choose among the common shapes right with the drop down arrow here. If you want to have this shape created, choose, hold down shift, double click and drag, and you have your shape created. Isn't that cool? Great. Now the very next tool we have is the text tool. Anytime you want to work with text elements, we deal with the use of the text tool. If you want to add any text elements to your design, we use the text tool in adding these elements. Now to work with that, you simply click on the text tool. Alright, click once on your workspace and begin to type. CorelDRAW tutorial, right? Great. That is the text tool for you. Anytime you want to type any text item, you use the text tool to work with that. Now to change the font of this text, you can highlight all the text and right on the property bar here, click on the drop down arrow and choose among the numerous fonts you have per your font dialog or catalog. Alright, choose from the numerous fonts you have right there. This is how to use the text tool. Now if I want to separate two or more words, I can use the shortcut Ctrl K to break them apart, or come to Objects and choose Break CorelDRAW Tutorial Apart. Once I click on this, I have this separated and I have this text separated. If you want to apply color to any object in CorelDRAW, it's so simple. Once you have the object selected, you come right to your color palette and click on the color you want to apply. Isn't that so cool? If you think it's cool, give this video a like and also subscribe. If you want to change the color, you simply need to select the object and apply a color to it. But remember, applying colors to objects only work with vector files and text-based files. Alright, great. Now write in our text tool, we have what we refer to as the table tool. We've already spoken of this right on the menu bar here, which says create table. Alright, so anytime you want to create a table, this is the option to choose from. So we are going to move on to the parallel dimension tool. These are tools that I normally don't work with, but then we need to understand them and appreciate them, right? Great. So with the parallel dimension tool, anytime you are working with works that require a specific measurement per the lines, the prefix and suffix, we use the parallel dimension tool to work with that. So this is what this tool does. Alright, great. Then right here we have the connector and anchor editing. Connector and anchor editing. Alright, if you want to join an object to an already created object, we use this tool to work on that. Draw a line to connect two objects. Alright, so we can start from here and end at here. So that is the function of the connector tool. Now the next tool we are going to speak on, which is also very important, is the shadow tool. Alright, if you want to apply shadows to objects in your workspace or on your design or document, we use the shadow tool in working on that. So we are going to create a circle right here. So I have to minimize this. Alright, apply a color of this. Great. Now once I click on the shadow tool, all I need to do is double click on the object and drag to the area I want the shadow to apply to. If you want to use an already existing preset, right on the property bar right here, you click on the drop down arrow and choose from the different presets we have. This is a perspective, top right, a small glow, you can choose that as well. Inner bottom, this is the effect you are going to have. Alright, then we have perspective top right, which we've already worked on, and this as well. Great. So these are the various presets to choose from if you want to apply a shadow to your object. Great. Now you can separate your shadow from the object. To do this as well, we use the shortcut Ctrl K to separate the shadow from the object. Alright, or come to object and choose break drop shadow apart. Once you do that, you have your shadow separated and your object separated. Now in the shadow tool, We have the contour, the blend, the distort, envelope, extrude, and block shadow. These are all very powerful tools I use in working on designs. So the next one we are going to speak on is the contour tool. So we are going to try it on a text so we can better appreciate. Once I select my text, I can come to the property bar and either choose an outside contour, inside contour, or to center. Let's start with an outside contour. Because our text is black, it's not so visible, but let's work on that. To change the color of your contour, you click on the drop down arrow right here and drag this to the color you want. Alright, great. Now if you want to increase this contour a bit bigger, this option here allows you to increase the contour to any size you want. Alright, but it is always advisable to leave it a bit, close to the object so you can have the outline of it being visible and real. So we are going to change our text to white and see how nice that looks, right? To also break this apart, you can right click on it and select break contour apart. So this way we have our contour separated, alright? And we have our text separated right there for us. So I'm going to have to delete this. Back to our text. Then let's look at the envelope tool. Okay. Envelope tool is used to add perspective to our objects. Now anytime you click on the envelope tool, your object comes with the various knots it has. So I can drag this knot up to have this effect on my object and drag this down to have this effect. This looks really nice, right? That is the function of the contour. That is the function of the envelope tool actually, alright? You can delete a knot by double clicking on it. Delete a knot by double clicking on it. The very next tool we have is the extrude tool. This is used to add 3D effect to an object. 3D effect to an object. So once I click on extrude, all I need to do is double click and drag to the bottom or any direction I want to drag to. Great. Now once my extrude is created, I can break this apart by going to Objects, Break Extrude Apart, and we are going to apply to our text a different color of white, and this is what we have. If you want to create 3D effects on any object, you can use the extrude tool to do that. That is the power of the extrude tool. a very powerful tool that I use often in my designs. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this extrude. Then the next tool we have is the block shadow. Also more like 3D effect, but it also has its function. So to add a shadow, you double click and drag to any direction, and this is what you have. So cool, right? You can change the direction by dragging this very box, change the color, click on the drop down arrow and drag to change the color of your block shadow. Great. Now another powerful tool that we use in CorelDRAW is the transparency tool. Once you select your transparency tool, this bar appears for you to either increase or decrease the opacity of your object. So we can drag this down to reduce the transparency or increase it up to increase the transparency. Now you realize that we have the object, this very object, visible through the red object simply through the use of the transparency tool. So that is what the transparency tool does. Alright, if you want to cancel the transparency you've applied to any object, you simply click on no transparency on the property bar right here. Great. Now the next tool we are going to speak on is the color eyedropper tool, another powerful tool in CorelDRAW. Most often you can be given design works or projects to work on, and the client can specify for you colors to use from a particular image. Now what you need to do is to select the color from that image and store in your status bar or color palette so you can use for your designs. The tool to use in selecting the color from the image to use in the design or project work is referred to as the color eyedropper tool. So now to use this, once you click on it, if you want to apply this color to this object, you simply click on the color and move this to the object you want to apply and click. If I go back to my color eyedropper tool, as I drag across, you could see a change in the color. This shows you the color that is currently selected. Alright, so once I select this, I can apply it to this object. That is how the color eyedropper tool works. You select a color from another object and apply it to a different object. The next tool we have is the interactive fill tool. This allows us to provide an object with 2 or more colors. Now all you need to do is double click on an object and drag to apply different colors to it. By default, it applies a gradient full of black and white. But if you already have a color applied to your object, it provides the second color, which is the white by default to your object. So to change this color, you can click on the drop down arrow and drag across your various colors you have to choose from. Alright, great. So that is the use of the interactive fill tool. Alright, that is the use of the interactive fill tool. Great. So these are all the tools we use in working on designs. Everything that you need to do that requires the use of a tool can be found on the toolbox. Alright, so easy to work around with. And in our next episode, we'll be looking at how to create simple design works just using the tools we've spoken about. And you realize that it's so much easy. It's so much easy. Just using the tools we've spoken about, our ellipse tool, rectangle tool, shape tool, pick tool, transparency, drop shadow, interactive fill tool, text tool, they are all there. Alright, the polygon tool, the crop tool. We are going to look at how to use these tools to work on a very simple design work. Alright, so please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and comment in the comment section your thoughts on this video. If it's been helpful, kindly let us know in the comment section. In this episode of our beginners tutorial in CorelDRAW, we want to work with images and look at how we can add effects. We can also edit them to pop and look very nice whenever we want to work with in any kind of design work. Per our previous lessons, we looked at how the interface of CorelDRAW looks like. We also looked at the functions of the various tools that we use in working on designs. In this video, specifically going to focus on images, how to add effect to them, how to adjust their color, contrast, brightness, and intensity to always make them pop and look very nice whenever we want to use in any kind of design work. Hello and welcome to Redeemers Graphics. If this is your first time on the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and also at the end of this video, if you've learned something new, do well to like, comment, and share as well so it can reach other interested designers out there. To get started, we are going to start with this very first image. So we are going to look at how to better edit this image to look very nice than what we are seeing. So we are going to position this PNG image right here. We are going to come back to this image, but first we are starting off with this. So to edit any image in CorelDRAW, you go to Effects on your menu bar. Right here, just opposite Bitmap and Object. You go to Effects, alright. Now right at Effects, you come to Adjust. Right after clicking on Adjust, we have a lot of image adjustment options to choose from, but we are going to focus on the most important ones that will provide you with the very best results. Alright, so we are going to start off first with Image Adjustment Lab. When you click on that, it opens up this pop-up menu, alright, settings, where we have to play around with the temperature, the tint, the saturation, brightness, contrast, highlights, shadows, and midtones of this image. Alright, if you want to have a before and after preview of this image, you simply come right here and select the first option here, which says before and after full preview. Right after clicking that, we have the before image and after image. So I'm going to scale this to maximize the window so we can have it in a bigger size, and also reduce the size of this image a bit. Great. Now as you work around with the settings, you are going to see the effects on the after image compared to the before image. This will provide us a more realistic and appreciable look at how images when edited look like. Alright, so we are going to start off first with the contrast. Now one key thing to note anytime you are editing an image is to consider the intensity of the contrast per the image. Alright, you need to consider the color intensity, the saturation of the colors. You need to consider the saturation of the colors anytime you want to adjust an image. Per this image, the skin tone of the individual is a light skin tone, and so you don't want to increase the contrast too much. All right, you don't want to increase the contrast too much, or else your image won't look really nice. So let's play around with this and see how best you can increase and make this image pop. All right, so you are going to increase the contrast a bit. Once you increase, the effect is applied to your image. All right, then we are going to reduce the brightness down a bit. Now I believe you can see the difference so far. This image look much more, the colors and details seem to be much more visible compared to the before image. All right, so to proceed, we are going to have to increase the saturation a bit, just a little bit, so you can work with my settings. All right, you can work with my settings. Now we come to the tint. Anytime you want to work with the tint, you consider the color of the shirt and the individual. All right, so this is more of a magenta and pink color. So when you consider the tint colors, we have a color combination of pink, all right, and other colors that relate with this color. So you can drag the tint color a bit close to this side just to have that color code represented on your image. Now when you look at the before and after image, there seems to be a much difference in both, right? Per this image, the contrast isn't so visible. It's as though there is just one color code for our image. All right, but that isn't what we want for our images. We want to create a balance between the colors. So we are going to go ahead. Now anytime you want to increase the darkness, any dark aspect of your image, all right, you can play around with the shadow and make midtones. If I reduce the shadow a bit, if I reduce this a bit, when you look at the hair, it seems to darken them more anytime I reduce the shadow. That is the effect of the shadow on the image adjustment lab. All right, so considered as per this, you notice that the difference is much higher, right? So these are some of the little details that you need to consider anytime you are editing images in CorelDRAW. All right, so let's try with the midtones as well. I'm going to reduce this down a bit. Now when you consider this image with this, when you consider the before image and the after image seems to pop and look brighter compared to the before image. All right, so it is always best to edit your images and make them pop anytime you want to use them for design works. All right, so this is how to edit your images in the image adjustment lab. Anytime you are giving a work and the image doesn't really look very nice, the contrast balance between the saturation, brightness and highlights don't seem to play very well, you can simply use the image adjustment lab, which I use often to work around with the image to make it look nice and perfect for your design work. So when done with this, you simply click on OK. All right, so you simply click on OK. So this is what we have. So I'm going to make a copy of this and do the process to have the before image and paste the edited image. Now this is the before and after, right? Let's have a full screen preview of that. You can see the difference between the two, right? One seems to look much brighter. The details, the texture, the color code seems to be much vibrant compared to the other. This is very important. As a graphic designer, you must always make sure you use quality and enhanced images. All right, raw color graded images anytime you are working on designs. This shows professionalism in your work. All right, so that is with editing of images. But then there are other ways to edit images, all right, to adjust the color codes anytime you are working with them. So we are going to look at another process. So we are selecting this very same image. We go to effects, adjustments, then we come to brightness, contrast / intensity. Once we click on that, this is what we are going to have. So we are going to have to reset this. Now with this, it's basically focus on just the contrast of the image. It's only focus on the contrast of the image. All right, so when we increase this up a bit, increase the intensity a bit, you could see the image seems to be very bright. All right, compared to the first image. If we reduce the brightness, now we are having an image that looks almost the same as this. But the difference between these two is that this process of editing your image only focus on the contrast. It's going to increase the contrast of all the color codes per your image. And that is not what you actually want, all right? Except per the kind of design you are working on, it requires that you focus mainly on the contrast. And if that should be it, then it's definitely not a problem. All right, so this is how to go about the brightness, contrast, and intensity. Now we are going to use this same process on our second image, the image of the male. All right, and you are going to see the kind of effect or outcome that we can obtain from that. All right, so we are going to go ahead and cancel this process to have our original image. Now if you want to increase a particular color code per an image without having to increase the intensity, brightness, or contrast of the other color elements, you can select your image, right at effect, adjust, and this time we are choosing hue, saturation / lightness. All right, so it provides you a master channel for you to work with. So this time you can choose the color you want to increase its saturation, hue, and lightness. So if we go with the color red and increase the saturation, you are going to see the effects on our image, right? Now this image seems to have all the colors almost the same. That is why we are really not seeing so much difference. If we had a color combination of probably green, blue, yellow, magenta, and all the colors you can think of, once you work with this, it's going to apply that effect. If we choose the color yellow, it's going to change only the color yellow in our image. And this is one of the powerful ways to work around editing your images. If you want to focus on color grading, all right, color grading a particular aspect of your image, you can use the hue, saturation / lightness to work with that. All right, so that is with this process of editing images. Now we're going to cancel this, and now finally this very image, which is a PNG file, an image without a background, right? So we are going to play around with this as well to see what you can create. Now we've already known the process to edit our image and enhance the contrast, the saturation, the tint, the temperature, and all that. So what we are going to do now is to look at how to change an image into a grayscale, all right, and also convert an image into a vector file or silhouette. All right, so to do that, you're going to go to bitmap. Once you go to bitmap, you go to mode, all right, then you choose grayscale. That is if you want to convert an image into a grayscale. Now you can see our image is converted to just two color codes. That is the color black and white. Alright, the color black and white. So that is how to convert an image to a grayscale. Go to bitmap, right, mode, and choose grayscale. Alright, now let's look at how to convert this image into a vector file. So you are going to have to undo this process. Now you go to bitmap once again. You go to effects, alright, adjust, then you come to brightness, contrast / intensity. So you are going to reset this. Okay, great. So per what you've seen earlier, that is exactly what you want to create. Now with vector files we can be able to change their colors and also change nodes and add nodes, right? So we are going to look at how to work on that. So we are going to reduce the brightness of this. And also the contrast of this. Alright. Then the intensity as well, we're going to reduce all to -100. Once done with that, you click on OK. So now this is what we have for our image. But first, after going through this process, you can't change the color. If I click on any color, the vector file doesn't seem to change. But that is not what you really want. Okay, so to work on this, you're going to go to bitmap, convert to bitmap, alright, and always leave the resolution at 300, color mode RGB, and choose OK. Once you've chosen OK, you go to trace bitmap, outline trace, and line art. So the process is going to be shown right here. The progress of your conversion is going to show right here. Alright, so the reason why you can't see this is because per the remove option, it's on automatic. So we're going to go to specify. So once you do that, you have your image converted to a vector file. So you click on OK, and there you have it. Now with what we've done, we can change the color of this. Alright, we can change the color of this to any color we want. We can change this to any color we want. Alright, so that is how to actually go about converting an image to a vector file. Alright, as a bonus, let's look at how to also work around applying some merging effects to our image. So I'm going to import in this very image. We've already kind of distorted everything, so I'm going to have to import in this. And I'm sure you remember the process we go through in importing images, right? Control I to import, or you click on this icon right here which says import, or go to file and click on import. Alright, so once you click on import, it's going to take you to your storage. Once you are in your storage, select your image right here. Great. So this is the very image we've converted to a vector file. So you want to play around with this and see how best you can apply merging mode to this. Now what we mean by merging mode is that we have different merging modes. Actually, we have color overlay. Let's just play around with it so we better understand. Alright, so we're going to bring this up. Once this is up, we are going to position it right on top of this. So let's delete this image. Great, we only need a vector file. So with this selected, you go to bitmap and convert it to a grayscale. Okay, so you want to apply two different colors to this image. How best can we do that? We already have the vector file of this, so you are going to position it on top of this. Alright, once positioned, You go to interactive fill, apply this interactive fill to your vector file, so a color of yellow and neon red. All right, so I think we can go with sea blue. Great. So once done with that, you come to the transparency tool and choose overlay. Great. So this is what you want to have. All right. All right, so you can apply different colors to your image with just these simple steps. So you first convert the image to a vector file. After conversion, you convert the image to a grayscale. All right, so you combine these two images, the vector file and the grayscale image, and do what? Go to your transparency tool, apply an overlay transparency to the vector file. Once you do that, it applies this what? Gradient fill to your image. All right, you can change this color if you want. Can change it to any color you want. All right, so that is with working on images in CorelDRAW. If you want to edit your image, enhance the quality, these are the process to go through. If you found this video helpful, please do well to subscribe, like this video, comment and share. All right. Hello everyone, and welcome to the edition 2 of our beginner's guide in CorelDRAW. In this lesson, we want to focus on using the tools to work on this birthday flyer design. Just a recap, per our previous lessons, we looked at how to create a new document, the interface of CorelDRAW, and how each tool in CorelDRAW works. This time, we are focusing on using each of these tools to create a perfect design work. Very simple design work. So to get started, we need to create a background for our design. So we are simply going to have a replicate of this design. So to do that, you come to your tools box, select your rectangle tool and create this rectangle shape. Right after creating, we need to specify the dimension for our rectangle. So you come to the property bar right here and give this a width of 210 and a height of 260. Press enter on your keyboard to apply the dimension size to your object. Once you are done with that, the next thing we are going to do is to import in the design resources we are going to use for this design work. Remember, we've spoken about 3 options to choose from. You can either use the shortcut Ctrl+I or simply click on this icon on the property bar which says import, or go to file and choose import. Any of these processes work the same. So once you click on this, it takes us to our storage. So we are going to select these 2 images and click on import right here. Now position them on the workspace randomly. The next thing we are going to do is to apply color to our background. So we are going to apply a color of white to this and take off the outline. Now an outline is simply what? The stroke that is seen around an object. So to take this off, you can go to the property bar click on the drop down arrow and choose none, and that will be taken off from your object. The next thing we are going to do is to create a circle. So to do that, we use the ellipse tool, hold down Ctrl to draw a perfect circle. Alright, and this looks perfectly fine. The next thing we are going to do is to position this image into the circle. In CorelDRAW, we term it as power clip. In Photoshop, normally it is referred to as masking. Alright, so you right click on the image and select power clip. Once you select power clip, this arrow appears and you click on the circle which we want to position the image into. To edit the image to fit perfectly well in your circle, you can right click on this and choose edit power clip, or click on edit right here. Now all you need to do is to position this to fit well into the circle. Alright, these design resources will be provided with a link in the description for you to access so you can practice with. Great. Now when done with that, you simply need to click on finish to close the power clip. Now with our image well positioned in the circle, the next thing we need to do is to type the main focal point of our design, which is happy birthday. Now you see we are simply basing on the tools to create a design work, right? So we are going to position this image right here. If you have an image behind another image or object, you can hold down Ctrl and click on page up to bring it just above the object. Alright, great. With our text tool selected, you click once and type happy birthday. Okay, now to break this text apart, you can go to object and select break happy birthday apart, or use the shortcut Ctrl K to break the text apart. So this time we have this separate and we have this separate. Highlight all this, and we are going to use this font for this. Excellent. Now we want to have a copy of the balloons, so we can either use the shortcut Ctrl D to duplicate, or come to edit, copy, go back to edit and paste. So we have a second copy of the balloons. To mirror this image, you come to the property bar right here and click on mirror horizontally. Alright, great. So we are going to position this right above this text. Now select all the text, come to the color eyedropper tool, and we are going to choose a color from this image. Great. Now highlight all the text once again. On your toolbox, you select the interactive fill tool, double click and drag, and apply this color to your text. So you want to have this gradient fill on our text. Alright, so the next thing we are going to do is to come back to our rectangle tool once again, double click and drag to create this rectangle shape. With your shape tool selected, you drag in this node. Alright, can take off the outline of this. Great. Now you realize all we've done so far is simply using the tools to create a design work. And so it's always key that you know how the tools work and how to go about using them for your designs. So back to the text tool, we are going to type 2025 right here and give this a color of white. Duplicate of that and type cheers to greatness. Alright, so we are going to have to change this font to TWSen, reduce the size a bit to fit right here. Then her name, Sarah. So this time we are going to be using a script font called Creation to type her name down here. Alright, then we want to apply a shadow to this object, so you come to the shadow tool, double click and drag to the bottom. If you want to adjust the shadow opacity, you can come to the property bar and reduce this to 7 and possibly increase this to 60. Great. Now the final thing we need to do is to close up the design, more like adding a close up to it. So we are going to create this shape right here and apply this color to it. Right click on it and select power clip into the background. So now we have our two designs, a replicate of our design by simply using the tools we have spoken about. The next design I would like us to practice and try our hands on is this. Great. So this is a food flyer design. So as well, we need to create a background for this design. So once again, to your tools bar, we use the rectangle tool, double click and drag to create this rectangle shape. Alright, and we are going to apply a gradient fill, interactive fill of black. So you click on this color, select black, click on this color and select red. Alright, then the type of interactive fill tool we are going to be using is elliptical fountain fill. So right on your property bar, you come to elliptical fountain fill. If you want to adjust this, you can drag this out a bit to have it adjusted. Now the next thing we need to do is to import in the design resources. So Ctrl I as the shortcut for import. We have these two images we will be using. Alright, let's position this guy right here. So I'm simply going to scale this to fit here. And the next thing I want to do to add realism to this is to apply a shadow to it. If you notice, per this design, there is a kind of shadow beneath it to look as though it is being positioned down on the background. So you simply come to the shadow tool, double click and drag. Alright, reduce this to 5 and possibly increase this to 60. With this being done, we are going to come to our text tool, delicious cuisine. Right, great. So you come to your property bar once again and choose a script font that you prefer. Alright, any script font you prefer. Now to center align this text, come to the property bar and click on this icon to have the various alignments to choose from. Alright, so we apply a color of this to our text. The next thing we are going to do is to use our ellipse tool and create a small circle right here. I'm going to give this very same color, and with our text tool selected, we type in the price of the meal. So we need to change this font to this and a color of black to reduce the spacing in the letters. simply use your shape tool. Then we want to create a shape right here, so we use our rectangle tool once again. Remember, I stated our rectangle tool is one of the most powerful and used tool in CorelDRAW or any other designing software. You can create any shape of any kind. Now we want to skew these very edges and these very edges of this rectangle. So to do that, you come to your property bar. Now you always make sure this is unlocked. This padlock icon is unlocked just as it is. Then you specify the skewness right here. So we are going to give this 20 and this as well 20. So this is what we have. All right. Great. So the next thing we are going to do is to type in the contact details. Make a duplicate of this with Ctrl D. And Ctrl D once again for the social media handle. Now we are going to learn how to extract vector files from their background. With this vector file, I can't change the color of this vector file unless I convert it to an editable vector object. So to do that, we come to trace bitmap on the property bar, outline trace and line art. So the process is going to be shown here. The progress of the extraction is going to be shown down here, and once done with that, click on OK. So this time we have this separated and this as well separated. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. Right click on this and ungroup the elements. All you need to do is to delete the white elements. All right. And position it right here. So this is how to use very simple steps based on the tools we've discussed in working on designs. Now let's look at how to export these designs as bitmaps to have on our storage. So to export a particular design item on the workspace, you need to select the item or design in totality. So once I highlight and select all this, all I need to do is to click on export right here on the property bar, or use the shortcut Ctrl E to export. Once I click on that, it takes me to my storage where I export and save my file. If you want to export a specific item on the workspace, then you always need to have this ticked. Selected only. You always need to have it ticked. Then the save as type, we have so many save as type. You can either save this as a PNG file, a JPEG, PDF, AICPT. There are a lot of formats. So we are going to choose JPEG for this and click on export. Once you click on export, it provides you with a preview of how the design will be exported. And if you are okay with it, you simply go ahead and click on OK. Alright. And also remember, when saving your document, remember to save it in CDR format, that is the CorelDRAW format, to make it editable for you. Once you save it in any other format before closing, you can't edit it in CorelDRAW any longer. So you must always save it in the CorelDRAW format. Let's look at how we can do that. So to save this design work, you go to File, Save. Alright. Now this is the storage within which we are going to save our file. So this is the save as type, CDR. Always save your files in CDR. If you want to export, you can export in other formats, but always save your files in CDR. Great. So you simply give your design a name and go ahead to save. Great. So this is how to, based on the tools, following very simple guidelines, steps to work on designs by simply using the tools. If up to this point this video has been helpful, don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel, and also like. Also tell us what you've learned per these videos in the comment section. See you in the next edition.